Heath Bar patrons, welcome back to the Heath Bar podcast. I'm glad you decided to join again for another fine chat on tap. This is a great one. This is a first for the show, and I'll explain why here in a second. And I'm looking forward to getting it out to you, and y'all getting to listen to it and see what the fun was all about for this episode. Before I do that, though, I do have some things to share with you. There's been a lot of changes on the social media with this podcast and what I've been doing. I've changed the name a bit, so if you have been following me on Instagram, it has been at Heath Bar Online. I changed it up. I thought I'd make it easier, a little bit more simple to follow, so it's _Heath.bar. A little bit easier to remember, at least in my mind, it seems easier to remember. The whole online thing seemed kind of lame to me because, of course, it's online, duh. So I just changed it. the_Heath.bar on Instagram. You can find me there and go ahead and give it a follow. And on Facebook as well. If you have been following me on Facebook, the handle has changed. It is just at the Heath Bar Podcast. Speaking of that, also the website. You can still find it with heathbaronline.com, but officially the web address is now theheathbarpodcast.com. And like I said up there, I have all the previous episodes, a little bit more about myself, blog that I do for the podcast, and my own personal one as well. Also, where I will be playing. So if you want to come and see me and hear some tunes and throw out some requests of songs that you think I should play, I always appreciate that. Sometimes I've had some fun instances lately where people have requested music that I specifically don't play, and they were not too happy about that. But I stand by it. It's just the way it is in my shows, folks, and I'm proud of that. And I think there's a lot of tunes that I play that y'all should listen to and should know, as well as originals that I like to write. I've been doing that for a while now, and some of them are great, some of them suck, but it's fun, and I enjoy it, and I'm going to try to keep all my shows entertaining and fun for you as well. So you can check all that out at theheathbarpodcast.com. Also, a really cool thing, I have merch now. We've got a web store up there on the website as well. T-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs for those morning bourbon folks. It's all up there. You can check it out. I'll send a link out as well on the social medias, so y'all can keep following that and see where you'd like to get those. Christmas is coming up, so if you know of someone that is enjoying this show and would like to represent it out in public, stickers, shirts, coffee mugs, it's all up there. Go ahead and take a look at it and buy something. It'd be kind of cool. Speaking of cool, if you have not left a review for this podcast on iTunes, I sure would appreciate that. It helps with those fantastic algorithms that they do to kind of move things up the slot so more people can hear these stories of the cool people around this area and that come through. I think they have stories worth listening to and worth sharing. And if you do too, go ahead and leave a review and give it a share. Make sure you subscribe so that you can keep track of it as well. Tell people about this show. It's been getting a lot of growth in the past few months here. I've been watching the stats, and to everyone in Australia and Germany, hello. I'm surprised that there's that many people overseas checking this out, which is cool. So I'm glad you're listening to it. Keep sharing it, folks. I always appreciate that. If you want to get in touch with me for any reason, whether you have some ideas or you just want to say hi or whatever the case may be, you can shoot me an email, heath@heathbaronline.com. And as always, you can always follow me personally on Twitter at Heath Johnson. All right, enough of that. My guest for you today, I'm really happy to be bringing to you. He's a guy that has written a few songs recorded by Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Sammy Kershaw. If you're into, good country music, as I like to call it, you know those names. He's been writing for a long time, spent about 15 or so years in Nashville, and the course that country music down there has taken has just not been to his liking, so he decided to take his own course, like a lot of other country artists have done in the past several years in our recent country music history. And I'm glad he did. He got connected with guys like Cody Jinks, and the rest was history for him. His name is Ward Davis. If you have not been listening to his music, I highly recommend you go and do so. You can find him on Spotify and iTunes. His album 15 Years in a 10-Year Town is up there, as well as his most recent EP, Asunder. Fantastic songs, fantastic songwriter. He is coming up here to the Black Hills, by the way, folks. December 4th, he will be playing in Hay Camp Brewing Company in Rapid City, South Dakota. And I will be there. I'm looking forward to getting to see him perform and hopefully say hi and connect a little bit more. But I had fun talking with him. He was sitting at a bar, kicking back some drinks, and we had a fun phone conversation here. And I'm really looking forward to getting to share this with you. So I will leave it at that, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Heath Bar, give it up for Ward Davis. Welcome to the Heath Bar, where the conversations are always on tap. I wanted to ask you first off, right off the bat, are we going to get to see a Facebook Live video of your trailer blowing up anytime soon?
Jesus, man, I'll tell you what, I've been arguing with my manager all morning because he doesn't want me to do it. He says it's dangerous. So
no.
I'll figure something out. Like, they're not going to beat me.
Yeah, man, I saw that and I was like, that would be actually be pretty awesome to see. How long? You've had that quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, she got about 120,000 miles on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you when you first got, well, I guess let me ask you, what kind of got you into music in the first place? Because it's a lot from where you start to when you end up getting a trailer like that. Is it been something going on most of your life, like a family thing, or?
Yeah, not a family thing. I mean, in a sense, I guess, because my parents were the ones dragging me all over the place to play gigs that didn't pay. But man, I started playing piano when I was 7 years old. When I was 10 years old, my Garth Brooks came along, and like his first album is just covered up with piano.
Sure.
And so I started playing those songs, and I went into a piano lesson, and my piano teacher, I played her a Garth Brooks song that I'd learned by ear, and she just completely told me to call my mom and never gave me another lesson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, she was just like, I don't know how to teach ear. She's like, I'll teach sheet music. So.
Oh, gotcha. That seems to be a trend I've noticed lately with a lot of like newer artists or even people that I know and my friends that play is sheet music's not really something they do. It's mostly an ear thing or just goofing around on their own.
Yeah, man, I just, I saw how the kids liked Garth, and so that's what I started doing, man. It was, I don't know, I just loved it.
Sure. Was he, so around that time and era, then, was probably most of your biggest influences, you'd say, as far as Garth and George Strait and 90s country? And
yeah, 90s country, like my dad was a big, but my dad was like a big Waylon fan, Willie fan, Merle Haggard fan, so I had a lot of that as well, but I grew up in the 90s, so it was, a lot of Clint Black, a lot of Travis Tritt, a lot of Alan Jackson, Garth, those guys. Just, I think they call them the class of '89.
Sure.
Those were the guys that I liked the most.
Gotcha. Was it mostly just country music that influenced you and kind of got you into it, or were you? Did you succumb to 90s ska or something like that? I guess.
Dude, I mean, I thought Matchbox 20 was awesome when I was in college, and I was a normal kid, but man, it was always country music. I never did anything except, and Dad was pretty strict on what I got to play and listen to. We didn't, Dad's a non-vet, so we didn't get to listen to any Bob Dylan.
Sure. Gotcha.
But I was able to slip in James Taylor, man. James Taylor, as far as outside of the country genre, was a huge influence on me.
Did you around that time when you were listening to all them? Is that when you started getting into writing your own stuff, or is it mostly just playing what you heard?
Man, I wrote my first song when I was about 8 years old, and it was stupid, but
Do you remember it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what it was though. It's terrible. but no, man. Yeah, I mean, I've always written. When I moved to Nashville, I noticed that, I wanted to record music, and I noticed that a lot of songwriters would get publishers to pay for them to go in the studio and record the songs that they'd written. So,
sure.
I'd always written, but I was like, hey, here's a way to get in the studio and sing and not have to pay for it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. And I kind of started writing. I got a publishing deal pretty soon after I got to town. And I'm sorry if it's loud in here, man. I'm down at a bar in Nashville having beers with Cody Jinks and my bass player. So,
oh no, you're good, man. Absolutely.
But no, God, I lost my train of thought.
Just publishing and getting into that when you first moved.
Yeah. I was just within 6 months of getting my first publishing deal, I got a Sammy Kershaw recorded one of my songs. And I was dumb enough to think that, well, hey, maybe I got something here. So I kept writing, and the more I did it, the more I loved it. So I pursued that as a career for, about 15 years
mm-hmm.
without, I had a little record deal for a minute, but it wasn't worth it. Is this going to be on like broadcast radio?
Just my podcast. I'm not going to
okay.
put it on.
So I
yeah.
can say shit.
You can say whatever you feel comfortable saying in a bar, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want that, but yeah, man. I just I tried to be a songwriter for a long time. I had this little record deal, and it amounted to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I just waffled in that side of the business for a long time until I think about 5 years ago, Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard recorded a song of mine, and I kind of made the decision that I was going to. Well, I mean, I guess that I've proven to myself that I was a songwriter,
mm-hmm.
Just because I had that little feather in my cap, and I decided I was going to, if I was going to make a living, I wanted to do it doing stuff that I loved.
Sure.
So I started writing more songs that I just wanted to write, as opposed to songs that I thought other people wanted to hear. And I started going around and playing them, and I met Cody and Whitey Morgan and a few others. Man, it just kind of let me into their world, and ended up with a trailer that I really want to blow up.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That'd be pretty awesome to see. Still, yeah. That's.
Hold on,
Oh, go ahead.
I gotta tell Cody. He should podcast, and the first question he asked me was like, "When are you going to blow the trailer up?" I know. He's like, "You got a new gun?" Oh God, sorry.
No, it's fine. That's fine. I don't know of anyone that doesn't want to see something blow up at some point in time, so it'd be cool.
No, that's what I keep telling my management, man. They're like, "Oh, it's too dangerous. Just let it go, let it go." And I'm like, "Come on."
Oh, you find a field somewhere, you do it right, it'd be great. It'd be great.
Well, dude, Cody's got a big ranch now. Like, he has like 300 acres and like more than enough room to blow up a trailer.
Well, there you go. Jeez, come on.
Yeah.
We've got a ton of land up here too. So if it makes the way up here to Rapid City when you come up, we could always find a place too. I guess you got to get everything back down to Texas at some point. So. Yeah,
man. I don't want to break any like state laws or anything. I'm pretty sure it's safe to blow shit up in Texas.
Yeah, that's a fair bet. That's a fair bet right there. Yeah, well, and Cody and Whitey and that's good company to be in, and so before you kind of made that decision about 5 years ago, though, were you doing a lot of the, I don't know what it's really called, like the Nashville like the think tank, where you're just in a room with a bunch of people and
Yeah. Well, the way they do it now is a lot differently than when I moved there. Like, I moved there in 2000.
Okay.
So, like, when I got there, it was on the tail end of like the songwriting community was an actual community. Like the everybody was kind of rooting for one another, and you would go to lunch and see the same guys, and you knew them, and it was just really, really cool. But you go in and you meet somebody, and it's like you decide if you like them. Like, it's almost like dating, but you go and you sit in a room together and you hang out, and sometimes you write a song, sometimes you just make a friend. But it was that kind of feeling, as opposed to like the way they do it now. They just all, 6 guys get a drum beat together and kind of rap it out. I don't know what they do there anymore, but it's not a bunch of friends trying to get a song done before 3:00 so they can go hang out without thinking about it, And it really was like just, man, like my first 5 years there, I think was just like, as far as the music business goes, the as cool as it'll ever be in my lifetime, as far as Nashville goes.
Yeah. We've got we have a festival that happens up here in Deadwood. It's called the Wild West Songwriters Festival, and they bring up about, 20, 25 or so Nashville songwriters, and they just do rounds around town. Just to kind of give people the idea of what things are like down there. And it's interesting talking with those guys, because they're in it right now, where they walk into a room and there's 12 people there, and they maybe know 2 of them, and then they see what comes up. And man, I just don't think I could ever write like that.
Yeah, I never did it like 12 people. I mean, that's excessive. Like, that's too many cooks in the kitchen, if you ask me. But like, dude, you get in a room with 2 or 3 people that like you trust talking about your life with and your experiences and shit like that. It's actually a pretty cool thing, man. But it's not easy to get to that point with anybody. It's almost like, you have to go to your therapist 10 times before you really tell them what's wrong with you.
Right. Yeah. And is that, go ahead.
No, I mean, like with, Cody and that, man, we write a lot together. Like, when we have ideas, we bounce them back and forth sometimes, and sometimes we keep them to ourselves because they're yours. But
sure,
like, man, you get somebody you trust like that, it's really easy to dump shit out on paper together.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and do you find in your writing, do you have do they come mostly out of your experiences, or is it ideas that pop into your head, or do you write mostly about what you've gone through?
Man, there's, perspective, empathy, I think are very valuable when you go into to start writing a song, man. Like, I've got a song called the Overpass on my first record. It's about it's based on, it's not the true story of a guy that I know or knew, but it's what I've seen. Like, I know this guy that had kind of a really good life, and he started drinking and doing pills and getting fucked up all the time, lost his family, lost his home, ended up homeless. But he wasn't, I don't know, there's a line in it that he was he lives under an overpass, and he's like, rainy days are kind of a mixed thing, because people give him more money when it rains, but it's a further walk to the liquor store. And
sure.
Like, now I don't know that my friend specifically went through that, but I think that if I were in his position, that would be like a day-to-day thing. Like, well, shit, it's raining, but people will feel more sorry for me if it's raining. But it's also, who wants to walk in the rain to go get vodka? Yeah,
gotcha.
So it's like, there's a lot. I mean, and it's perspective plus empathy.
Sure. Well, and one of the things, so I started playing and writing a little over 10 years ago, and started meeting a bunch of songwriters and stuff up here in the Black Hills. And it's interesting, when I talk with the ones that write music based off their own experiences, versus trying to write a song that they can send down to Nashville or send somewhere to get cut. It feels way more genuine when it's coming from something that they actually went through themselves, or someone they know and can empathize with very closely,
Yeah, it's the whole, like, one of the rules in Nashville they taught me, or somebody told me, nobody wants to hear a song about you, they want to hear a song about themselves. And when you write a song about you that is about them as well, then you strike on something, because we're all, we all suffer the same basic emotions, and a lot of lines parallel in the universe. And so, you speak to the people that are like you, and that understand where you're coming from, I mean, I think that's like, I mean, as far as like commercial writing, that's just one of the most important things.
Do you have a process when you sit down to write a song, or is it mostly you're just hanging out with Cody, a few other people, and something pops in your head?
Man, dude, I mean, there's no process. I mean, some people have it, but like, night before last, I had a dream that an eagle attacked me. I know that sounds stupid.
Okay.
But I was halfway through my shower, and I realized that I was writing a song about an eagle attacking me. And I was really writing it in my head, like, just going for it, like an idiot. and I was like, Lord, this is stupid that you're sitting here trying to write a song about an eagle attacking you. But at the same time, it was just like, it's just kind of how my mind works. And, you know, sometimes I'll get an idea that is, you know, bigger than an eagle attacking me. I mean, he was an angry-ass eagle, too.
Well, here's an idea. Finish that eagle song and then have that playing while you blow up your trailer. That'd be great.
Nah, I'm letting that idea go, man.
Yeah,
I'm going to let space keep that one.
Sure. Yeah, I talked to a guy a couple weeks ago that wakes up every morning and writes for 2 hours. And I don't think I'd have the time to do that. But
man, you know, I think your mind is popping a little differently in the morning for sure than it is in, you know, the late afternoon when you want to sit down and erase everything that you just went through in that day. But, you know, it's different strokes for different folks, you know. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got their way of doing it.
Sure. Do you have sorry, I got like a list of questions I want to ask you, but I'll try to get through as much as I can and just kind of talk a bit more. But when you spent, you know, all that time down in Nashville, were there any experiences that pushed you like further into, I don't know if the machine's the right word to use for it, and then experiences that kind of pushed you out of it?
Oh, yeah. Man, the people around me that were having success when I wasn't was definitely a prime motivator. Like, I felt like I was getting left behind. And can I get another one of these? But what pushed me out of it was just how the music changed and what was expected of me, creatively, and like, I mean, everything just kind of got poppy, you know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like it. Like, it's just not what I like to do.
Yeah, that hit pretty hard. I know that right around the time that hit was when I completely stopped listening to country music as a whole for a good solid decade or so, and it's only been maybe the last 6 or 7 years that I've really started to enjoy it again and find artists, you know, like yourself and Cody and a lot of others that it's like, oh, hey, country music is, I don't know if back's the right word, but it's finally getting real again, or whatever the word is you want to use.
I think, man, like, I don't know if you've noticed that in our country, in our world right now, there's a lot of polarization.
Oh, you know,
like, I don't think that the industrialization of like music about country people is any different. Mm-hmm. It's polarizing, you know, and when it comes down to it, man, country people are country people, not city people. It's more like city people's idea of what country people are, and it's really shallow because you're talking about, dude, I mean, I don't want to knock on anybody, but like, how many songs are on country radio with the word girl in them? Like, seriously, girl.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Arkansas. I didn't call girls girl.
Right.
But that's what, like, I mean, it's, you know, how much Fireball whiskey can we drink in a song? Like, it's just the same shit over and over and over because it's people without any perception of what it actually is. And so the people that are coming to our shows, man, like, we played in Little Rock last night, and the venue is attached to a hotel. Man, that hotel was full of people that came to the show because they travel. They don't live in the city. They travel from outside the city to see these shows. They're country people, man. They have, like, real-life problems as opposed to made-up ones that people on Music Row just don't understand.
Sure.
So it's I don't know. I think it's a double-edged sword, man, because like pop country created this market, you know?
Right.
Like there's no room for Randy Travis on the radio anymore. So people have to go outside to find it, and that's where we get to, that's why we have people show up and hear us play our songs.
Yeah, and and it's definitely thriving outside of that radio machine and the top 40 hits or whatever you want to say. Like, do you see with like the launch of like social media has blown up in the last decade or so, and just people being able to promote themselves and get themselves out there without radio plays? Have you noticed that recently?
Yeah, totally, man. Like my dad has a Facebook page. He's 76 years old. Like 10 years ago, my dad didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think the audience has changed. The social media audience is different. The way that, man, like a guy like me, a guy like Cody, like neither one of us have major label deals. Neither one of us have ever had major label record deals. Mm-hmm. The only thing that we don't have access to as just independent artists that labels have is radio, and radio's paid for with advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
Who's listening to radio? Like, I mean, we have satellite radio now, so the 75-year-old guy that doesn't give a shit about pop country can get Willie's Roadhouse, and just listen to that all day long. Like, people get their music differently now. Shit goes viral. Shit gets shared.
Mm-hmm.
People tweet about it. Like, that didn't, man, when I was a kid, if I wanted to hear a song, I would sit and listen to my radio for an hour and hope that they played it so that I could hit record on my tape recorder.
Yeah.
And listen to it. Yeah. And now it's just like, music is so accessible and so easy to find. It's like, it's just a different world, man. Like, social media has just completely changed the game.
Yeah, I remember getting mad because I did the same thing, trying to record off the radio, and then a commercial would play longer, and the first intro of the song would have the commercial playing over it, and I'd get so pissed. Like,
Well, yeah, radio's made for, that's what it's made for. Talk as much as you can
mm-hmm.
till the last second. Get as much as you can in, know.
Do you think is that when songs really started to shorten down a bit? Because now, I mean, if you have a song over 3 minutes, I mean, one of the things they do up here is they have a demo panel where you can submit your song and then they kind of critique it. And one of the things we hear a lot is, man, those songs are really long. And they're like 4 minutes,
people, well, there's a structure. Like, man, I was talking to my manager yesterday. Like, the way that I write is pretty structured. That's I got that Nashville school built into me where I try to keep everything under 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's also kind of cool, man. It's hard to tell a story in 4 minutes, and if you can, it's a pretty good accomplishment. But, dude, I don't know. Nobody. I can't say that nobody wants to hear an 8-minute song, but there's just not a lot of 8-minute songs worth hearing.
Right.
So people try to, I don't know. I've always kind of had a gift with words, man. You say more with less,
Yeah.
When you can do that, that's when you get into the 3-minute world, and it's just like, how long can you hold anybody's attention anymore,
Sure. Do you, when you put a song together and then you put it out there kind of in your catalog, I guess, what was it like when you got that call that, hey, someone wants to cut your song for the first, you said your first one was with Sammy Kershaw or something like that?
Yeah. Sammy Kershaw. Yeah. He was he's one of those guys in the 90s. He's really
fan.
big. He was on the tail end of his career. But, yeah, man, I mean, that took the gun out of my mouth.
Yeah.
No, but it was like, you're constantly, when you do this, man, you constantly question if you made the right choice, if you're down the right path, because this is being a songwriter, like, dude, I've sacrificed every opportunity that I've ever had just so I can do this,
mm-hmm.
and you have to ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Because, this feast or famine. Like, there's not a lot of guys like just making a ton of money in the business, and there's not a lot of guys going broke doing it either. because people give up and they'd rather have stability than, roll of the dice. So any feather in your cap, anytime somebody says, hey, this is good enough, man, you grasp onto it. Those little victories are a huge part of staying in this.
Sure. If those don't start to come like frequently, like let's say you go, I don't know, like I have a few friends that I think are awesome, but they just can't seem to get what would be called a break. And I keep telling them, like, just keep driving, something's got to happen at some point. Because a lot of it's who you know. I mean, it feels like it's who you know. And, being up here in South Dakota, there's not a lot of people that make their way up here to hear anything, But I can imagine that's why a lot of people move, down to Nashville or somewhere where there's more of a centrality to it.
Well, you got to do more than be creative. I mean, and I think that's true now, and it's true 20 years ago. My first publisher, his name was Tom Collins. He's this old music industry guru. He was the head of the CMA. He was a huge publisher throughout the 70s and 80s and 90s. But he told one of the first things he told me, he's like, well, there's two words in showbiz, little buddy. And he's right, man. This is a business, man, and you got to be smart. And and if you're not smart, you got to surround yourself with smart people. And for a long time, all the smart people were working at record labels. And now we live in a world where there's a lot of smart guys with some social media know-how and an eye for things that people are looking for. There is a lot of luck to it. Just like surely something has to happen, and usually the thing that happens is you either have a light bulb go off in your head, or you meet somebody that has a lot of light bulbs going off in their heads. I met a guy just through Cody, a guy named Arthur Penhallow. He's Cody's manager, man. I met this guy, and I saw it immediately. I was like, this guy knows so much that I don't know. I need his help. I need this guy's help. And he's my manager now, and he's got he was semi-retired when he took on Cody, and now he owns a company called True Grit, and that's, Whitey Morgan, me, Cody, Sonny Sweeney, and a lot of newer acts that are, Art knows what he's doing, and he knows what people need to hear. He knows how to get it to them. A guy like me, I got no fucking clue.
Well, it's neat that someone with that kind of talent recognizes that there's skill in music that would go unnoticed, if he didn't do something like what he's doing. I think there's a lot of fans out there that are appreciative of people like that find, artists like yourself and give them the chance to be heard where they wouldn't get, in the top 40 or anything like that, just because you don't play pop.
He's not. Yeah, and that's his whole thing. He's not trying to beat anybody, like, systematically. Like,
sure.
It's not like an internal, like, I have to do better than this guy. He wants to beat all of them. He no prisoners. Like, everybody's going to be a victim of this movement. Like, as far as the country music world is concerned, like the business part of it, those guys are. Man, I put out an EP last year, and it debuted at #1 on the iTunes country charts.
Yeah.
And I got so many screenshots and text messages from people like, how the fuck did you get a #1 record? I'm like, motherfucker, because I put my trust in the people who know what to do.
Yeah.
And you should do the same and stop chasing the same 5 wild geese with the 3,000 people down on Music Row.
Sure. Which is fine. I mean, if people want to go that route, fine. But, at the same time, like, there's a lot of people that will ignore that because it's just not what we're looking for when we want to turn on some music or we want to, learn a song to play at a gig or something like that, So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's it seems to be happening more and more. There's just a strand of people that that's fine, do what you want, but I'm not giving my time or energy to it, which is good. I think it gives us more time to, find artists such as yourself. So,
well, and it gives us a lot more freedom to create. Like we're not trying to pigeonhole ourselves or keep ourselves in any kind of a box that is expected of us.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder how many great songs got turned away because it wasn't in that box for the last 20 years.
Well, dude, I've got, yeah. Oh God, just in mine.
Yeah.
Just in my catalog.
Do you keep track on how many songs you've got in your catalog, or is that just kind of a ongoing thing?
No, not at all. Some of it, yeah. Some of them, I've got more half-finished songs than I do actual songs. But man, I probably write about 12 songs a year anymore. Like
sure.
I just write. I write when I want to, not when I'm made to.
When you go to put an album together, do you like get an idea of, hey, this is kind of what I want to do, and then start writing from there, or do you go back through and see what you've got that hasn't been released?
I definitely go back. Yeah, my next record's got songs on it that are 6 months old, and some that are 15 years old. Like I don't know, the ones that stand out, the ones that come out at you at some point in your life. If you feel that they're good, if you feel that they're worthy of what you're doing, why leave them alone?
Sure. Let's talk about your tour real quick for a little bit, because I gotta imagine that tour is a lot more work than it comes across as, just from people on the outside of it.
Oh, dude, my bus was like, first of all, the battery was dead yesterday when I went to pick it up. And then we got down the road and realized it didn't have any brake fluid in it. So we had to turn around and go get brake fluid. And I need a new caliper. And, we were 30 minutes late for sound check.
Jeez.
Dude, it's crazy. Like,
do you travel with a mechanic, or is that all you? Just like, well, let's get it fixed.
No, when I get home every week or every couple of weeks, I park my bus at the mechanic shops because there's always something that needs work on.
Gotcha.
It's just kind of like that. But yeah, man, I mean, just on top of the logistic difficulties, like being away, I got 2 kids, I got 2 little girls.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's fucking hard when your kid's crying and telling you that she misses you all the time and saying, I miss you all the time, but I gotta leave. I gotta go. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Sorry.
Oof, yeah.
Like that hurts,
Yeah, I've got 3 girls myself, and I couldn't even imagine not seeing them for that long. It'd be tough. It'd be real tough.
Yeah, it is.
But and 2 of them are just hit the teenager age, so it's awesome now.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
your house.
It's a trip. Let me tell you that. Do you do a lot of planning for your touring, or is a lot of that done by your management agency, or is it coordinated with
I've got a really good tour manager. He's one of my best friends. We write a lot of songs together. He works for me, and then I've got, Arthur, works for me. I've got a booking agent, and I've got like a day-to-day business manager. And between those 4, I've got it pretty much handled. They try not to stress me out. Just let me do the shows and write the songs and do as much as they can without involving me. That's for sure.
Sure. What do you look forward to most when you get to a show? Is it do you have like a ritual that you go through before you start? And
I mean, it depends. I don't really know. Sometimes I'll take a shot of whiskey before I play. Sometimes I'll have a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the show for sure, man. Sometimes the one thing you're looking forward to today is just fucking getting there. Cause last week we played in, Asheville, North Carolina on a Friday night, and then we had to go to St. Louis on a Saturday night.
Oof.
Which is, like 600 miles.
Yeah.
And we got to wait, we have to wait until the end of the show. We got to wait until the last T-shirt sold, last person is gone before we can load up and get out of there. So, some days it's that. Some days, like you just want to go, feel strings on your fingers.
Yeah.
Just ready to play, you know?
Yeah. Do you, when you started going out and doing touring with, and this aspect, when you kind of got out of the, I don't know if what you would call it, the Nashville thing or anything, because what was it like when you saw people, like crowds, like singing your songs with you that they hadn't heard anywhere?
It's the only thing that I've ever wanted in my whole life as far as this goes. Like, oh my God, yeah, man. Like, you know, I always make this joke that Cody Jinks has never given me anything, but he's given me everything. And man, the first thing of all the things that he's given me was like a room full of people singing "I'm Not the Devil" that we wrote together.
Yeah,
I'd never heard a room full of people singing my song back to me. It's magnanimous.
Sure. Yeah, I could only imagine that, man. That's a killer tune as well. Was it
bullshit.
Mostly?
I'm kidding.
No, you're good. You're good. Was Cody the one that kind of brought you on and said, "Hey, come do a tour with me"?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay.
I met him in San Antonio here a few years ago, and we did a show together. But before the show, I think we just kind of realized we were buddies, and he was just kind of in that phase where he was starting to fill rooms up, and he always needed an opener. And you know, he told Arthur, you know, hey, put this guy on some shows. And so we started touring together, riding together. You know, I go hang out with him and his family at his house sometimes, and we're friends, you know, and we both have the same snakes in our head. And I don't know, man, he's a really generous guy. He's sitting 6 feet from me, so I don't want to say anything too nice about him. But
yeah, don't let his head get too big over there.
Shit, man, you couldn't get that guy's. He's so fucking down to earth, man. Like I've been around that Nashville system so long, where like, you know, you have this guy. Here's a guy that like writes with you until he gets a record deal, and then he starts writing with the big shots and won't answer your calls. Dude, Cody doesn't answer. He doesn't answer calls from the big shots because he wants to write with his fucking people. You know,
sure.
Like he's he's something else, man.
Just fuck him. I'm gonna do what I want. That's cool. He comes across as that way, so that's good. That's good to hear. That's genuine. What we see on social media and stuff is who he really is. So that's cool. That's cool.
Oh yeah, man. He's the most normal person. He's like mentally. I don't. It's hard, especially the way we're doing it and the way he did it. Man, it's hard to get your head wrapped around like all these people. You were never a part of the system. You were never a part of this thing that you hated but almost wanted at the same time. But all of a sudden, he's, you know, I think there's going to be about 2,000 people in the room tonight to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And he still sees himself as the guy knocking around honky tonks, you know, like he still has that same. Here last year, he got sick on stage. He had a real bad case of vertigo brought on by some shit, but man, he wouldn't leave the stage. Like, he had him bring him a chair, and he took his hat off, and he sat there with his eyes closed so he wouldn't get dizzy. But he was still in that mode where it was like, I got to take care of I got to do the show so my guys get paid and blah, blah, blah. And I called his wife the next day, and I was like, Rebecca, you got to make him realize he got to take care of himself, man. Like, he's not there anymore, but he doesn't even acknowledge it. He's the same dude I met 4 years ago.
What would you say to like a songwriter that has been or is trying to do, or
don't listen to anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I always say. It's my out, because if they're listening to anybody, if they don't listen to anybody, then they shouldn't listen to me either, because I have no idea.
Well, I'd imagine it's easy to get defeated trying to climb ranks in the music business and music industry. So, you know, talking to someone
it's not
like
easy.
Sure.
No, but yeah, I get that, dude. Like, trying to, man, I learned how to write songs by listening to great songs and being around great songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself by people who are better than you, and write to their standard, not yours. Otherwise, you're just going to stomp around being pissed off because nobody likes your songs.
Sure. Do you, for people that are putting themselves, when you write a song, really what you're doing is, especially if you're writing about yourself, you're throwing it out there, a little part of your soul out there. And I've written a few songs and played it, and people have absolutely hated them, and then written a few that people have semi kind of liked,
Yeah.
Do you keep songs like that people didn't really like on a burner for a while and see if you can play with them longer, or do you just kind of let them die?
Oh God, man. There's a song on my first record called "The Skeptic's Prayer,"
mm-hmm.
where it's like questioning the if God is God and Jesus was Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I didn't play that. I wrote that thing by myself, alone, one night while I was going through like this real trying to figure everything out. Man, I didn't play it for anybody for 3 years, and it wasn't because I didn't think it was good. It wasn't because I was worried that it wasn't finished. I didn't play it for anybody because it was so personal, and it was so something that me and my family, the people that I grew up with, we don't talk about. You don't talk about whether or not God is real. You accept it,
Sure.
And so I went through this time where I was really wondering about all that. And I wrote a song because that's what I do. And when I did that record, I decided that I was just going to kind of put it all out there, say, hey, you know what? This may be the only record I ever do in my whole life. I'm gonna stick my flag in the ground and say, I was here and this is who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And but you have those things sometimes, man. I think people are different on Facebook than they are when they're sitting in a room by themselves.
Right. Right.
And I think the same goes to when you're being creative. You only show people what you want them to see.
Sure. How's the beer where you're at?
This one's pretty, it's cold. It's not really cold.
Well, that's all that really matters.
Yeah. I need to grab me something to eat, man. I don't want to get drunk before lunch.
Yeah, it is a Friday, so.
I got to work tonight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, like I said, we're really excited that you're on your way up here. We've Hay Camp Brewing's brought Sonny Sweeney up earlier this year, so I got to see her, and that was really cool. They've been doing a lot on bringing artists like yourself and that up here into this area, just to keep music like this coming north a bit. So
yeah, cool, man. Yeah, we love coming up there. I think, what is it, Sioux Falls? Is that South Dakota?
Yeah, that's the eastern side of the state. Yeah.
Yeah, our van broke down there in February. It sucked.
Oof.
It was cold as shit.
Yeah, we had a rough winter last one, man. It was not fun. And we pretty much skipped summer, so we're back in winter again.
Yeah. Yeah, we got about 3 days of it. That was enough for me. But hey, we can't wait to get back.
Yeah, I'm sure. We'll keep the whiskey warm for you, I guess, and
cool, man.
From there. But I did want to ask you real quick, because Willie Nelson's one of my all-time favorites. So I got to ask you, what was going through your head when you heard that him and Merle are going to cut one of your tunes?
It was 5 years ago, and I still have a hard time believing it.
Yeah.
Man, I cried for like a day. I mean, It was, there's no way, dude, you don't set goals that high, that happened. I was lucky. That's it.
Man, that's cool. That's a good song too, man.
Yeah.
I listen to it a lot.
Thanks.
But,
well, there's not a lot of, I was telling my manager the other day, it's not a big market for 4-minute songs about friendship unless Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard are singing them.
That's true. That's true. And lucky for you, you had it ready. So that's cool.
Oh, yep.
That's really cool, man. Well, hey, I won't take up a whole lot of your time anymore. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk. And I know that
Yeah, man.
you know I'm gonna see you in a few weeks anyway, so I'll come and say hi and if you need a beer or anything, I'll buy you a beer. So.
All right, I'm always in the mood for a free beer.
Sounds
Speaking of
good to
that,
me.
here's Cody Jinks getting ready to buy me one.
There he is. Get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell Cody I said hi too. It'd be cool to get him up here sometime. I don't know if he's ever been up here in South Dakota. I'll have to talk to Hay Camp.
He said hi, Heath. Howdy, Heath.
There you go.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate it, dude. And thanks for listening to me ramble.
Absolutely, Ward. I really appreciate you taking the time. We'll see you in a bit.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Yep. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Heath Bar, folks. Once again, Ward Davis will be up here in Rapid City, South Dakota at Hay Camp Brewing on December 4th. You can find your tickets on their website and their Facebook page. I think they're using Eventbrite for that. Or you can get them the day of the show. I think they cost a little bit more, so get them early. Anyway, folks, if you want to get in touch with me, shoot me an email, heath@heathbaronline.com. And as always, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We'll see you next time, folks.